everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the UK Glamping podcast, hosted by us here at Glampitect. As usual, we have a special guest with us this week. So this week, I'd like to introduce you all to Graham, director at TimberBuilds. Thanks very much for coming along, Graham.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much for joining us. A few of our customers may well already know of you and have heard from you, have dealt with you, obviously. But for those listeners and viewers that don't know who you are and who TimberBuilds are, can you give us a little bit of background on the company?
Yeah. We are primarily a manufacturer of bespoke items. So whether it's glamping pods or cabins, lodges, whatever you want to call it, they'll all typically fall within the Caravan Act. And we do all sorts of shapes, sizes, finishes, looks, styles, themes, whatever. Mm-hmm. We offer groundwork services, which is usually quite helpful whenever somebody's trying to get a project delivered by the one company. And we're site operators as well, so we have our own glamping sites. That helps give us a bit of a understanding for what the client's going to go through, and that's who we are.
Amazing. So a bit of a three-pronged attack there, really. So yeah. That sets you apart from a lot of manufacturers in that the pattern we see with some of the manufacturers we've had on previously, like Pod Factory and Blackdown, are that they tend to specialise in one kind of unit. Like here's the shape we like to build, and here's the range that we do it in. But you do a few different shapes and sizes. What kind of made you decide to go that way rather than just have a kind of a set range, if you like? Is it just that's the consultation process, or just for the sake of variety?
It's like, in my honest opinion, TimberBuilds is going 6 years. The glamping pod look is popular, has been popular, but it's definitely, in my opinion at least, evolving. Mm-hmm. And whenever, I think you can just, it's really hard to describe some of our lodges if you were to try and give it a name, because it's kind of somewhere between like the evolution of the glamping pod and like park home. It's like somewhere, it falls sort of somewhere within that sphere. And people are, more often than not, we're getting conversations with folks that are like, there's loads of glamping pods about, there's loads of that sort of traditional shape. How can we make it different? So I think I seen that coming a few years back, and we started to lean quite heavily into that sort of design, like a single pitch roof and just more floor space as well. I think practically you can spend an awful lot more time inside of them. If you're trying to capture people for a week instead of just a couple of nights, it'll definitely, it's a good offer in that way for folks, and bang for your buck too. They're good value for what they are. We can do quite big, like 13-meter lodges, in the 40K mark. You can easily spend that in some pods.
Okay. Yeah, fantastic. Well, for those people that do want to get a feel for what you can do, well, obviously we'll put a few links in the episode description to your website and to all your various ways that they can kind of reach out to you. So you mentioned obviously you've been doing it 6 years plus now. I'm right in thinking you're Northern Ireland based, but you're far from restricted to Northern Ireland, aren't you? In fact, I think you're coming to us from the Scottish Highlands right now, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm on site right now on the beautiful Isle of Skye. I'm looking out at Skye right now. I can see the mountains from my room here.
Yeah, some stunning views up there. So do you cover like the whole of the UK, or is there specific parts of the United Kingdom that you kind of specialise in?
We'll go anywhere in the world. If somebody has a need for us, that much, we'll go wherever it needs to be. 99% of our work will go onto the back of a lorry and go to, you'll go straight to the boat. So whether it's England, Scotland or Wales, but we've got lots of work in Ireland, but the majority of our client base would be in England, Scotland, Wales. But yeah, we'll work anywhere, to answer your question.
Fantastic. Okay. And you mentioned obviously that you're far from kind of just a manufacturer. You can also look at groundworks and site setup, and that is obviously an immediate concern for anybody who's looking at pods, because they can't just pop them down without having their site prepped. So can you run us through a little bit of like what a kind of typical customer journey might look like from the time they first get in touch with you?
Normally, yeah, because we do offer groundwork services and like the average person, I'd say it's kind of like a 60-40 split between like commercial actors that are seeking to procure land and then develop it, they'll probably have more of an understanding for utilities and what they require. But I would say the 40% then is folks that already have land and they're just trying to create an investment out of it.
Yeah.
Tends to be those guys don't really know like how much electricity supply they've got, for an example. So I like to highlight those things at the start. So somebody will be talking about 6 units, but they might have, that's all in electric and, they've only got a limited single phase supply, as an example. So we try to highlight those. What are the site requirements? What are you trying to achieve? What really is your business goals with this here? Is it just, a bit of side income with 1 unit? Or are you trying to take it to the moon and, build 50 units? Highlighting the needs is really what the first sort of phone call would all be about. And then we'll try and navigate the most sort of efficient route.
That's a really good point, actually, because it's something that we come up against quite a lot in our kind of consultancy processes. People have a dream for their site and quite often have far more space than they need, obviously, to accommodate 3 units, 4 units, whatever it might be that they're doing. And it's quite often at that stage where they start looking into utilities and how much it's going to cost to provide the right amount of power. Quite often at that point, the scale of their project shifts completely, because it can be incredibly expensive if you do need to put new transformers in and things like that. So really good idea to get that conversation out of the way early.
Not paying attention to that sort of stuff will bite you in the back, very quickly. If you've budgeted, for argument's sake, 100,000 for round number's sake, and then you find out you need to get a new 3-phase transformer on site, well, your project isn't going to start. Your project isn't going to start at all. So there's ways to sort of circumvent those issues.
Yeah, absolutely. It's something Callum mentioned when we had him on, because he had a very similar issue when he was looking at phase 2 of his site up in Melvick, and the utility company effectively tried to take him for a ride a little bit when they said what he needed, and it turned out there was actually more than enough capacity to the current transformer. He just needed to increase that. So knowledge is power in a massive way. So really, really good point to check those boxes early. And if anyone's looking for any advice on those, reach out to Graham, reach out to us. More than happy to have those conversations with you. So once they've got that ticked and they've kind of settled on how many units they want, where do they go next? Do you pop out to site and see people to give estimates, or is that done remotely through kind of technology like this and videos? How does it all work?
Yeah, a mixture, in short. If the client's going to use their own contractors or local labour or whatever to do their groundwork, generally we don't really need to go to site.
Mm-hmm.
I would tend to get in touch. I always ask the client, like, give them my number or give me their number, and we'll discuss those things, because the client ends up playing piggy in the middle of how much electric is that using, or what size of a pipe is coming out of here.
With the contractors.
Yeah. A site visit, normally our main concern, if we're doing supply only, like supplying the accommodation units, it would be the site ingress, for logistics.
Yeah.
So that's definitely something that you want to check out before you even, go down the garden path with somebody and make sure that they can actually get in there.
Get them there.
So, just case by case,
If they were looking to you for a groundworks quote and kind of the whole one-stop shop, that's an option though. You'd maybe go out and survey the site in those instances, would you?
Yeah. Well, this one here, actually, we priced off plans, and then we went to go and check out the site once the client was happy with the price, and then we checked it out just to make sure everything was as it said it was on the plans.
Yeah, that's another thing as well. Clients can sometimes be a little bit optimistic about how easy to access their site is. It's one thing getting up and down it with your 4x4, but getting up and down it with a truck with a pot on the back is an entirely different kettle of fish, obviously.
It is.
But worse places to have to go than the Isle of Skye, of course. At least you've got some good views.
Yeah.
So once people get to the point where that's all kind of signed off, they know what they're doing, they're in a position to pull the trigger and actually order their units. What happens there? What sort of lead times are they looking at with yourself? I presume it's dependent a little bit on time of the year and how much you've got going on, but have you got a rough indication of lead time for the customers?
Yeah, time of year. Time of year, man. You know what? See, it's funny. See, the accommodation low season is kind of like the manufacturing high season
Yeah,
because
exactly.
it's our workshop's going belt and braces at the moment. We've got a couple of massive lodges being built in there at the moment, and saunas. We're taking deliveries of hot tubs and stuff, and I'm up here with a couple other lads doing groundwork. So like everybody's going full bore right now. But generally speaking, from point of order, normally we're commencing manufacturing within a couple of months of that, and
Okay.
furthest out. Do you know what I mean? So generally speaking, from point of order would be starting manufacturing in and around 3-4 weeks from that.
Okay. What's I appreciate average construction time is probably like asking you how long is a piece of string, but for a traditional sort of size and shape unit, anything up to that kind of 10 by 5
Yeah.
or 12 by 5, what sort of time frame are they looking at for
Do you know
construction
what
to
it
delivery?
is? Unless if somebody's picking like it's actually like the sack and fix items like lights, kitchen, bathroom. That's
Yeah,
actually the stuff that holds up production.
yeah,
So if you're waiting for like a Persian rug to be delivered to the workshop, you can
yeah.
have the building framed pretty quickly, but
Hmm.
it'd be supply chains. We are really bespoke, so if whatever people want, we'll put in there. So
So yeah, so
it's really
yeah,
hard to answer
fair enough.
that.
It is
I don't know,
exactly like how
like
long's a piece of string?
generally in around a month. Those big lodges
Okay.
we can do in around a month. Yeah.
Yeah, don't worry. We'll not hold you to it. We'll not put a gun to your head. Just for a rough time frame for people, just so they've got at least an indication of how quickly they need to be looking at these things.
Yeah.
So, if people want to obviously have a conversation with you, we can provide them with all your contact details. But if they want to come and see you and see the workshop, is that something that they've got the option to do?
Absolutely, yeah. We've got an open invitation. Anybody that wants to come to the workshop and check any build at any stage of the build, I encourage people to do that. It's
Yeah, I think
really
there's no
the
substitute for
framework.
actually touching and feeling what's going
Yeah,
on here.
yeah. I actually just had a conversation this morning with a gentleman. It's going to be his planning should be coming through. I think next week, and it'll definitely be the UK and Ireland's biggest glamping pod for sure. This thing's like 17 meters long. So I was saying to him, actually, he was talking about the bedroom sizes and stuff, and I was saying like once we get the base made and the walls up and the roof on, then come down to the workshop. We'll walk through it.
Hmm.
We'll mark out where the walls would be on the plan because it always feels different whenever you're inside of it.
Oh,
you
100%.
know, and make sure you're happy with the proportions and like the sizes of the rooms and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, so anyway, to answer your question, like anybody can come to the workshop any time of the day they want.
Perfect.
We've got our own little site quite close by, actually, the workshop too, so they can come and stay there. And
I was going to ask if there's somewhere they've got units they can actually come and stay, so that's fantastic.
yeah,
We'll put those details in the episode description as well, so people can check the site out and get a better feel for the whole process. I think you're spot on. I was really personally surprised by it the first time I went to see a unit being built because I said, "Oh, come and have a look. This one's 10 meters by 4 meters," and I thought, "God, that's a shoebox." And then I got there and very quickly realised it was about the same size as my flat. It can be quite deceptive once you're in these things.
it is. Yeah, everybody. Honest to God, without fail, every time we've delivered a unit to site, and if the client hasn't been to the workshop, like, oh my God, it's so much bigger than what I thought it was gonna be.
Yeah, it's not until you kind of go out and put the string down on the ground that you go, oh, actually, yeah, that's quite a massive area to make use of.
For sure. Yeah.
Cool, fantastic. Well, very interested. I'm sure we'll have a lot of people get in touch and want to come and see you. So, have you got any kind of advice that you would offer people that are just starting out? Do you see any kind of common themes or trends of things that people either don't consider or fail to account for?
The devil really is in the detail with your groundwork, I think. If you're so there's two answers to that. I think if you're an investor looking for a site to develop, you've got the benefit there of picking a site that's going to be easily serviced. So obviously pick a site that's not going to cost you an arm and a leg to service.
Of course, yeah.
If you're on the other side and you've already got the land, well, you're at the mercy of what you can use there.
It costs you what it costs you.
So, like, it's a business, isn't it? When you boil it all down, people want to get the fastest return on investment that they can. And the thing that's going to increase that time frame to get your money back is going to be how much money you put into the ground. So, and how many units you put on, So say you pay 100,000 for your groundworks, but you've only got one unit. That's a long payback period. If you can dilute that 100K over 5 units, it's going to get paid back 5 times as fast.
Yeah, really good point. And that's something that we cover off in our academy sessions that Callum Moffat runs predominantly. I'm sure I know you know. And that, whilst it's difficult to predict future phases and future development, a lot of people will start with 1 unit or 2 units with every intention of going for 3 or 4, and quite often have planning for 3 or 4 straight out of the gate. I think it's really important, as you say, to get those initial costs set and done and out of the way. Because if you then have to dig it all back up and go for a second phase to reconnect all the groundworks as well as what's on top of the ground, that return on investment window just gets longer and longer, eh?
Yeah, for sure. See, I'm surveying sites all the time. I was looking at land for sale around here in Skye. I think the biggest issue you would have here is cleaning staff. But I like to play a game where
a well-qualified sheep than a well-qualified cleaner in large parts of Skye, unfortunately.
I like to look at it, whenever I'm looking at a site to develop, I like to imagine an invisible person there that I'm trying to sell the site to later on, So if you try and build it in such a way that's going to enable you to harness the most value from it later on.
100%. So I think if we were nutshelling what we've said there, it's important to have your kind of completed vision before you start putting a spade in the ground.
Yeah.
And really have a good idea of what's the end game here. It's not something you can kind of do ad hoc. It's really important to have all your I's dotted and your T's crossed.
Yeah. Future-proof all your groundworks for later phases, for sure. That's an obvious thing to do at the start.
Absolutely. So coming up for the future of TimberBuilds, what does that look like? Where can people come and see you? Are you going to be exhibiting anywhere this year, or is it predominantly your site and your showroom that people can come and see you at?
People can come and see us anytime they want. They can stay at the site, walk into the workshop anytime they want. But I think we are going to do it's the Glamping show in September.
Yes, that sounds about right. So it's hard to keep track. We only do 2 or 3 big shows a year, but by the time you hit December, it's like, when was it again?
Yeah. I think we'll probably do that one this year.
It's early September though, from memory.
Yeah. So that would be a show folks could see us at. What's coming up? We've invested in ground screw installation equipment recently, so looking forward to completing some projects with that.
Yeah, they really are the future when it comes to the bases of these units, eh?
Oh, for sure, yeah. They're really good. Concrete definitely still has its place, but where it's not economical to do it, ground screws very quickly become an obvious choice.
Oh, absolutely.
I was surveying a site the other day where we might actually be building our first units on pontoons.
Oh, really?
So, yeah, a little boathouse sort of things.
Yeah, because I know Pod Factory dabbled with that once a little while back with a floating pod on a pontoon, and that is, I know, sort of a logistical nightmare. So, but it's something that I've been asked about a few times, and like anything, I think the future of the industry is about setting yourself apart from the competition and making sure you stand out, and that is damn sure going to be one way to go about it.
Yeah. I think we already stand out pretty well. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think there's anybody else in the sort of glamping sphere that's creating timber frame the way that we are. There's
I would agree. I think 100% people that want to get a grip for just how different TimberBuilds are doing it, can't encourage you enough. Go and check their website out. We'll put all the details in. They are far from your standard manufacturer, and it's very much about helping the clients achieve your vision for what you would like the units to look like, rather than providing you with a range for you to choose from. I think that'd be fair to say.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, listen, Graham, I think we'll leave it there. Thank you very much for joining us. Once again, anybody who wants any details, wants to get in touch, reach out directly to Graham. Chances are he'll have his hands full and be on site. So if you can't get hold of him, get hold of me and I'll put you in touch. Man's a very busy man. Graham, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Cheers.